So we're going to be doing the same prep as we always do. I'm going to start off by gently pushing the cuticles back and scraping off the dead skin. And the prep is super important because that is what's going to make your nails stay on. Then I'm going to grab my e-file with a medium sanding band at a low speed. I'm just going to come around the cuticles really carefully, kind of just feather down towards myself in one direction. All you're doing here is you're going to mat the natural nail plate so that we get some good adhesion. And we need to get rid of all the dead skin in order to do that. I always hold the finger from the top to make sure that it doesn't slip, and that means I can twist the finger from side to side. And we want to get rid of all the dust because we are using tips today, so I'm just using a soft brush to dust it off. I'm actually going to attach the tips with glue for once. Usually I use gel to glue them down, but these have got something called a well, and that is that like little track in the tip. And I'm just going to use a thin coat of nail glue. And I come in and kind of rock it on and press it down hard so we don't get any air bubbles, and just hold it down for a few seconds. Gel doesn't like shiny surfaces, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my time and mat the plastic down completely so that we don't get any lifting. I like to do the surface work on the tip before I actually blend it in because it is more sturdy before you thinned it down. When I go in to blend the seam in, I don't actually work on the natural nail. I make sure that I stay on the tip just before the tip hits the natural nail and kind of blend it in from there. And I don't keep working in the same place. I kind of move around a bit so you don't get any heat spikes or burns. You don't want any rings of fire because you can ruin the natural nails. I'm going to wipe it off with some cleanser. Now I want to get all the dust off because I will be using an acid-free primer. I'm just going to apply a thin coat to the natural nails. It's not necessary to apply it to the tip. Just make sure that you let it dry before you go in with any gel. Despite the fact that we are working with hard gel today, I am actually going to apply a thin coat of a soak off. That means it can be soaked off with acetone. And more builders today do seem to come with soak off bases. A long nail like this, I will start at the tip and pull it down. The trick is with the base coat is to have enough, but not to make it thick. I'll start off by the tip and kind of pull it off. And then I will come around the sides and kind of push it in to make sure that I've covered the whole nail. That I don't get it on the skin or go up all the way to the cuticle. I'll stop just before it, just so we've got a little tiny gap. Also flash cure these in between so that they don't run into the skin or the cuticles because we don't want any allergies. We get a nice even layer, that will give you a good foundation. This is a number 2 gel brush. I know it looks ridiculously small, but it is so hot in here. You can either put the gel in the fridge just for a little while, just to kind of stiffen it up. Well, what I often will do is that I'll go down on brush size and actually work in smaller portions of gel, so don't put too much on, because it will run more when it's hot. This is just like a thin protective layer, so that when I file it off, I don't hit the natural nail, and I want a clear base. Also, what I will do on a client, it's easier to change the colour if you've got clear underneath. And I'm just putting down a thin, even layer. Everything I'm using in this video today, I am going to link in the description box below. And I'll pick up a tiny amount and start off almost at the cuticle and kind of do thin little circular motions coming down. We are going to make sure that we do a good job on the natural nail because that is where we can do the damage when we file. Just pull it off. And again, I do flash cure the nails in between. And when I'm done with all 5 of them, I'll give them a full cure. So we are using neon pigments today, and in order to kind of give them a little bit of a lift, I'm going to do a ombre with a gel polish. I have chosen this gorgeous colour from Madam Glam. It's called I Lime You. I will put a thin coat of polish down on the tip first, and then I'll kind of just blend it gently upwards with my brush. I've got a few streaks, so I'm just going to kind of pull them down again. Now this is really opaque, so we want it to cure properly. So make sure you do really thin layers and cure them in between. Pull off the excess off the side of my brush, so I've only got product on the one side of the brush, otherwise you're just going to get a holy mess. Despite this being a really pigmented colour, I am still going to do a second layer because I want the coverage. Thin layer of colour, and then kind of blend it up towards the tip. Yeah, I often will kind of tip my brush around and work from the back side. It makes it a bit easier. That means you don't pull streaks in it. Then you can just kind of cover up the bald patches. And again, give them all a full cure. Especially with colours like this that are opaque, because you want them to cure all the way through. So put some paper down before you start doing this because these are pigments and they're fine powder and they can go absolutely everywhere. And it's handy to be able to wipe your brush off. I'm just applying these into the sticky layer of the gel polish so don't wipe that off. I'm building it up as I go. I'm just going to do like a kind of, what should I say, ombre on this because I really want these colours to pop. I'm just applying them thinly and just kind of blending them in. So this is a really easy design. I kind of feel bad for using Madam Glam's pastel gel polish on this because it is a really nice colour, but it also gave me a really nice background to work on. So yeah, work with what you've got. And I'm not being heavy-handed. I'm just kind of tapping it in a little bit, just really gently. Keep wiping the excess off my brush. I'm going to do slightly less on the index and the little finger because I don't want it to be so overpowering. You can just feather it upwards. The trick is to seal this in is that you actually just float. This is a base gel that's thin, that's why I use that. I don't push or pull hard because otherwise you can start making streaks in the pigment. Instead of curing it, I'm going to leave it wet. I'm kind of just going to add some details with like some lime green glitter. And I'm just placing that where I want it. And it's just to kind of make the colours pop. I'll tone these two nails down, so I'm actually going to go in with some pale pink because that will mean that they're not kind of screaming all the way up. Adding a few bits where I want it, just to make it kind of more, I don't know, grown up I suppose. I am going to give it a cure before I move on to the next one. If you like gel nails, it's hard gel that I mostly work with, so hit me with a like and then subscribe, I'd appreciate that. I'm going to be using a cover gel because I want to do an ombre with this. I've scooped up a small amount. I'm still using my small brush on one side of the brush only and depositing it down on the nail. Before I kind of gently push it up to the cuticles, small circular motions to bring it down. Then I kind of start, what shall I say, just pulling it flat at the end. Because it is so hot in here, I'm actually going to do this in 2 layers. Just pushing it up to the cuticles, really kind of gently pulling it down. Time when you're doing this, and if you are a beginner with gel, make sure you just flash cure in between. I've just applied a little tiny bit more. I haven't gone all the way up to the cuticles because we don't want to bulk them and we have got product there. I'm kind of just filling in where I'm missing parts and building the colour up a little bit. I also wanted the fade to come down a little bit further. By doing this, I think I achieved a better look. And this is actually quicker to do on somebody as well because you can alternate hands instead of waiting for one-on-one to cure all the time. We are going to start encapsulating this, and I'm going to start in the stress area from where you will get the breaks as well. I could have used a larger brush here, but I chose not to. It might look like I'm pulling it all the way out to the sides of the nail. I'm not, because it will run out. And if you've got too much product on, it's just going to flood onto the sides and you're going to get a really flat, ugly nail. A little bump at the back. You can just turn your brush around and kind of pull it out. I'm going to apply a little bit more. And I often start before where I last left off, kind of just really gently moving it down. The first layer, all I'm kind of focusing on doing is just encapsulating the nail. I just want to make sure that the nail's covered. Put a bit more on where I've got any bald spots, and you can kind of just tease it down at the sides because by now it will have run. Again, starting off at the stress area, and I don't keep lifting my brush up and down, I kind of just work it really gently. Now normally I might have used a size 6 brush, but like I said, I know it sounds silly just to use a 2, but I just really don't want this running away from me. And even though it is a practice hand, I don't want to be doing loads of filing afterwards either, and it's a waste of product. Kind of just really tease it down lightly. And despite this being a practice hand, I would have done all the steps the same as if I was doing it on a proper human hand. I'm happy with that. I am going to give them a full cure, and I'm going to do all the 5 nails in the exact same way. These nails are flat and they will break if I don't build the structure a bit better. So again, I'm going to start more or less in the stress area. This time I'm going to kind of focus it just in the middle to give it a nice arch and an apex, because this is what is going to give us the strength of the nail. And you don't have to use like piles, but give yourself enough room to file, especially if you're a beginner. I'm just kind of teasing it lightly up and down, and when I get to the front I'll just pull it flat. And anytime I put more gel on, I don't start where I left off, I start just beforehand. Now if you've got the time, you can always just kind of put a little tiny bit extra on if you're missing anything. Flash cure before you move on to the next one. Gel nails often will break is because you haven't got enough product. That can be a bit hard as a beginner to know how much you need. It will be better. These I wipe with some alcohol, and then I'm going to go in with my e-file. You could have done all these steps with a hand file as well, it's just more hassle and takes more time. If you're a beginner, use a safety bit that's rounded at the tip. This is a ceramic barrel bit, and to be honest, I'm just going to wing it because I want to get some bulk off. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start narrowing it in to start with, so that I've actually got a shape. And then I'll follow it around at the cuticles. This is coarse, but I'm not taking too much at a time. Now, when I work at the sides, I will work with the drill bit straight so that I don't start angling it too much. I'll kind of use the main part of the barrel to go over the nail just to get a nice upper arch and whatever. You'll often see me working a lot on the sides. If you work too flat, you can actually take the arch out of it, and we don't want to take the strength out. These tips are curved underneath, so they can be a bit awkward to file, so I'm just literally evening them out. And there wasn't a lot of filing to do, so that was a bonus. Now, I'm not going to show you the whole filing routine, I'm just going to show you how to take the bulk off. This will save you some hand filing. All I'm doing is tapering in the shape and making it look nice and neat. I'll go straight across at the bottom just to even the tip out to get that straight too. I'm kind of working with a little bit of pressure, but not too much. If you use a tip and you're a beginner, if you just take it a little bit easy, you shouldn't really have lost your shape too much. And gel does file quite easily, which is a bonus. I'm just going to use a tapered fine gel bit and kind of just neaten up the cuticles. And you'll see me sometimes brush them off so I can actually see what I'm doing. I don't like working blind. And just kind of pull down and even out where I need to. Now, I did go in with a file. I haven't filmed that, unfortunately, because it dropped out. I just kind of refined the shape with a hand file. I don't like buffing them too hard, but I did kind of get out any small scratches. I'm going to go in with a thin layer of top coat first. I'm going to cure. Same as the base coat, I'm going to start at the tip and pull it down thinly. I'm only working on one side of the brush. Before I kind of start to move towards the top, come down on the sides and just push it gently up to the cuticle. Cap the free edge because that is going to prevent any chipping. I really do hate bulking the nails, especially after I've made an effort with filing them. Now they're done, I'm just going to drop a little tiny bit of the gem glue, as it's called, and put some stones down. I'm using a dotting tool just to apply a little tiny bit. Now, it is easier to use a wax pencil to pick up, but I've just used a damp, clean brush. Make sure that you don't get any gel on top of the gems because that will mat them. There's no gel on the brush that I'm using. I kind of place these neatly where I want them. It's just kind of to finish the nail off. I do cure after every stone. Is the final result. I think they're stunning. I absolutely love this colour. I like the neon, but it didn't come out too bright either. I do like an ombre because it tones it down. So, super happy. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out on any nail crazy.